Hi everyone. So today I would like to present last chapter, that is chapter 22 of the Practice of English Language Teaching book by Jeremy Harmer, entitled Testing and Evaluation. So let's get started. Okay, so first is about summative and formative assessment. Snapshot exams, which simply give an idea of what a student can do at any given time, are a regular feature of the lives of school children and those in higher education. These are examples of summative assessment, which measure the product of a student's learning, and then uh, formative assessment, on the other hand, measures the student's abilities as part of a process. And crucially, the students as well as the teacher are involved in this assessment. And here, formative assessment is part of the learning process itself and looks to the future. Moreover, formative assessment focusing on helping the students progress to the next level rather than simply judging them on what they can do now. And then qualities of a good test. The test need to have three essential characteristics. First is transparency, and this means that anyone concerned with the test should have access to clear statement about what the test is supposed to measure. And then validity. A test is valid if it tests what it is supposed to test. It will only be valid if the test offers as accurate as possible a picture of the skills or ability it is supposed to measure. And then reliability. Reliability refers to the consistency of the test results. Given the same conditions, a test should always give the same results. And then types of tests. There are several main categories of tests which a teacher and learners of English are likely to come into contact with. The first is placement test. When students sign up for a language course in a private language school, for example, they usually do a placement test to determine which class they should go into. And then progress and achievement test. Uh, these tests are designed to measure the students' language and skills progress in relation to the syllabus they have been following. And then proficiency tests. Proficiency tests give a general snapshot picture of a student's knowledge and ability. And then for portfolio assessment, the student can be assessed based on three or four of the best pieces of work produced during a certain period. And then test item types. In the following examples, indirect test item types, both digital and pencil and paper items are included. Multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions are one of the most popular test instruments for measuring students' knowledge of grammar and vocabulary, especially because they are easy to mark. And then gap fill. Candidates need to be told whether they should write on only one word or whether more than one word is possible or expected. And then transformation and paraphrase. This is a common test item that asks the candidates to rewrite sentences in a slightly different form and retaining the exact meaning of the original. And then reordering, and then also summarizing. And here, summarizing is a way of testing a student's ability to understand and put that understanding into words. And then we moved into the test item types. When the designer and teachers construct items, especially direct test items, to test students' skill knowledge, it is important that they create a level playing field. Look at the picture in the slide. The following topic, on the other hand, comes close to ensuring that all the candidates have the same chance of success since the topic is generally understood by common people. And then young learner test item types. Testing young learners demands a different approach, whether the tests are computer or paper-based. Several items in the slide are all designed for older children and adults. The first is use pictures. This is the most obvious defining characteristic of young learner testing is the use of pictures. And then ticks, crosses, and smiley face. Young learners test frequently ask the students to put ticks or crosses against pictures to identify them or the information in them, and then dragging, dropping, and clicking. Young learners can be asked in digital tests over computer or mobile platforms to drag and drop items into picture or to click on the appropriate picture. And then writing and marking tasks. There are three main issues we need to address. The first is objective. We need to be clear in our minds about why we will be asking the students to take a test. And then context. We need to remind ourselves of the context in which the test takes place. We have to decide how much time and can and should be given to the test taking. And then future action. We need to have an idea of what are going to do with the test results once the test has been complete. Once we are clear about the objective of our test, the situation it will take place in and what we will do with the result, there are a number of other things we need to take into account. There are test content. We have to list what we want to include in our test, and then balance. If we are to include direct and indirect test items, we have to make a decision about how many of each we should put in our test. And then scoring. However well we have balanced the elements in our test, our perception of our students' success or failure will depend on how many marks are given to each section of the test. And then trialing test. This is especially important if the students' grades are going to be recorded or if the scores are going to count towards their final grades. And then marking tests. There are a number of ways of making the scoring more reliable. First is training. Scorers can be trained to grade candidates' works effectively, and that more than one scorer. Reliability can be greatly enhanced by having more than one scorer. The more people who look at a script, the greater the chance that its true worth will be located somewhere between the various scores that are given. And then using skills. One way of specifying scores that can be given to productive skill work is to use predefined descriptors of performance, such as the CFR or the Global Scale of English. And then analytic profiles. With analytic profiles, marks are awarded for detailed elements which contribute to global scale descriptions. And then scoring and interacting during oral tests. Score reliability of such face-to-face tests is helped not only by global assessment scores and analytic profiles, but also perhaps by separating the role of scorers or examiners from the role of interlocutor. And then teaching for test. Good exam preparation teachers need to familiarize themselves with the test their students are taking, and they need to be able to answer the students' concern and worries. But however, much test and ideal classroom practice do or do not match each other. There are a number of things that exam class teachers will want to do. First, train for type test. We can give our student training to help them approach test items more effectively. And then train for the test rubrics. This can happen whatever subject is being tested. We need to remind our students about the importance of reading the rubrics carefully and give them chance to practice this. And then discuss general exam skills. Most students benefit from being reminded about general tests and exam skills, without which much of the work they do will be wasted. And then do practice test. One of the best way of making students feel more relaxed about the experience is give them opportunities to practice taking the test or exam so that they get a feel for experience. And then the last is have fun. Just because students need to practice certain test types doesn't mean this has to be done in a boring or tense way. Um we have a lot of ways of having fun with tests and exams. Okay, so that's about the last chapter of the book, and thank you for your attention and see you.